What is up, guys? My name is Antoine, and I want to welcome you back to Mad Talk. Mad Talk is all about showing how entrepreneurs and creatives are making a difference in their everyday world. Today, I have the homie, John Medina. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
It's whatever you want to say. I mean, it's Mediana, and people say
Mediana.
Medina, Medania,
Yeah,
me, Diana. Like, I've gotten
Dirty
all
Diana?
that.
How
So.
about that one? Did you get Dirty Diana too?
Ooh, okay, MJ, throwback.
As well, is that I like to give it as a conversation from a creative to another creative, trying to learn because you have more experience in the role of YouTube podcast. He even has his own podcast called Divine Hustle, so definitely check that out. We're gonna have links to that in the description box below.
Yeah.
And you can find it, I believe, on Spotify,
Everything.
everything.
Anything that you could, it's on everything. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play.
Yeah, see, there you go. And from one creative to another, what would you say? Because I really, just to even jump into this so we can teach people as much as we can, what would you say is the number one tip you would give somebody who wants to start a YouTube channel?
I think that is a phenomenal question. A lot of people, like, that's the biggest question people ask is like, how do I do this? So I think where I started was asking myself, like, why do I want to do this? And I think a lot of people already know that question. Maybe they subtly know it, like, well, I just want to build a following. I think it would be cool to be like an influencer. I want to, like, freedom to do what I want and do this full time. So, like, there's a lot of reasons for a lot of people to do it. Maybe they see themselves like producing content of their own. They think they're really entertaining, which some people are. Some people need help. But like sometimes, they're like, oh, how cool would it be to get a brand deal? And then I'll go work another day of my life. I want to quit. Some people are like, I want to quit my job, my 9 to 5, and just do something from home so I could spend time with family. Those are all great things, really. My biggest advice, something that I had to ask myself a long time ago, even starting being a creative before YouTube, like before even we had like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, before all that, I think for me, my upbringing was creating brought joy to my life. I started off when I was like 10, 11 years old, filming my friends and myself skateboarding. So like, I was just like, this is just fun. Like, this is so much fun. It brings me so much joy and fulfillment to like film and like be creative with that and do photography and all that stuff. And then like the end result was really rewarding because I got to play back that footage and my friends were like, dang, that was so cool. That was a lot of fun. Like, let's keep on doing this. And it became more so of like a thing that was a fulfillment for me. So for anyone that's trying to start YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, my question would be like, what would you do if those platforms like died tomorrow? Like, what would you do if they all crash or if they all stop working? Or, like if your content on there was gone and they deleted it, like, which is actually happening right now in the internet. Like a lot of people's pages are getting like deleted. And video, all that stuff is happening.
Yeah,
so
shadow banned.
All
even
that
though
stuff.
people say that don't happen.
Oh no, it happens. I know a few YouTubers already that's like shadow banned. Their stuff is not even searchable. So like my biggest question is, first of all, what would you do if those platforms didn't exist? Would you still create even if you didn't make money doing it? Or, you know what I mean? So you got to really search yourself. What is your passion? What is your why that drives you every single day? And because if you don't know that, one day you could just quit and then be like, oh, that was fun. Like, and your audience is left there being like, dang, I was so invested into this YouTube channel. I mean, like when Casey Neistat stopped doing daily vlogs, he got a lot of heat from his followers, on Twitter and on YouTube. Like, Casey, like, why are you stop? But that's what happens when you get like creator burnout, because you go into it kind of like with this mindset and expectation, and then the reality doesn't meet that expectation, and then you get really frustrated, especially like the first year of YouTube. You only have like 100 subscribers or less, and you're like, man, I've been doing this for so long and I'm only getting 23 views, 30 views, sometimes 5 views. It's just me, my mom, and like, you know, my wife. Like, what happens when you don't get the results that you want and you've been in it for so long? Are you still gonna like continue doing it, or are you gonna change and pivot? So I think that's one of my, I guess, like biggest questions for people starting YouTube or for creatives starting their own thing. And my second follow-up question is, what's gonna separate you from the rest? Like, what's gonna separate your channel from the next creative or next person? You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
anyone could go on YouTube, type something in, and find a gajillion videos on that subject. What about your videos and what about your creative process is gonna separate you from the pack, you know?
That to me, because in your response, you said a lot of interesting things that we need to jump into more. But
Sorry,
one of
loaded
the
answer.
yeah, it was. I love it. And one of like just thinking about that, what is going to separate you from the pack? It made me think about this interview Will Smith did a long time ago. I was thinking maybe back in like 04, 05. And it's
Mm.
on a lot of those motivational videos that you might
Oh
see on
yeah,
YouTube and stuff
yeah,
like that, where he was talking about how, you know, this person might be more talented than me, they might be better looking than me, they
oh
might
yeah,
have more money than me, but you know, if me and them were both on a treadmill at the same time, I would either die or they will get off that treadmill. And that's what made him different than everybody
yeah,
else that was around him. That's what he kept saying, is that he had that hunger and that desire to
yeah,
be better than who you were,
yeah.
to be better than whoever else was
Right.
talking
I
out
mean, like for instance, I love Will Smith, by the way, and
there.
he is
Hmm.
like the father of social media. Like
He really is now.
just
He
recently,
really
this
is.
past year or two, you know. But
Hmm.
you know, just jumping off of, I mean, adding to that saying also is like, okay, there's a million other filmmakers and podcasters and YouTubers that are way better than me. You know, like they're way better than, like, I I think the first time when I went to film school, I had to really come to realization and be like, there's gonna be better directors than me. And there are. People will
Hmm.
outwork me, people will out, you know, shine me, people will out edit and concept wise, creatively create the most interesting stories. And I know that there are better writers than me, you know, but I think the answer that we should all have is like, well, they don't got my story, you know, and they don't,
Hmm.
I think that's what makes every single person unique. And that's why every single person, if they aren't, or they have a passion to do YouTube or be online, is that they shouldn't really compare themselves to anyone else other than themselves, because no one else has their upbringing, no one else has their story. They might be in the same field of like, oh, I'm a content creator, so are you, and so like, and they all use certain different programs, you know, from Premiere to Final Cut to DaVinci.
Hmm.
And like there's only a handful of like creative programs that is out there, but we all use it differently. We all have a different story. Some people, like, you know, there's podcasts where people are just reading novels, you know, or like podcasts that are people just reading motivational quotes. There's YouTube channels
Hmm.
dedicated to pulling motivational
Motivational quotes.
quotes,
Yeah.
and like that's their YouTube channel. Like,
Hmm.
so the big question is like, what do you love? What do you enjoy? And how do you use your story to get, you know, your message out there?
And that to me is, you have to figure that out. It's kind of like figuring out a mission statement for a business that you're starting. You know,
Yeah.
you need to figure that out and always have that in the back of your mind, and always have it like written down everywhere you go. Like,
Yeah.
it should be the automatic response that you give people from when they ask, hey, so what is the content that you make about? What is it
Right.
about? And even this morning, something that I put on Creator Source Studios Instagram, Creator Source
Yeah.
Studios on Instagram, follow us, you know, give us a
Yeah.
follow.
Go follow us.
Mess with us. We got it. Mess with us. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, something that I put on there, I'm doing a creators tips series. So I'm just
Yeah.
like writing stuff down in notes, you know, things that I think would be helpful to my audience and everybody else.
Yeah.
One thing that I put down there is finding that sweet spot of, you're making content that you love, that you want to be known for, but also provides value for your audience.
Right.
When you are able to single into that, that's when you truly have a viable and valuable brand and valuable content.
From 30,000 feet, I agree.
From
Like
30.
100%. From 30,000 feet, like I think that's like a great place to start. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like do what you love and bring value. Obviously, like how Gary Vee talks about all the time is like just bringing value, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
then your ask. But like I absolutely believe that if you're not bringing value or if you're not helping someone with your brand, with your product, then you're not going to make it.
No.
Like, you know, like you're just not going to make it. So some YouTubers, I mean, maybe that value is entertainment. Like you just want to entertain, like that's a value prop, you know?
Hmm.
Like
People always want to be
entertainment, like
entertained.
people find you funny, people find your videos creative, like that's a value prop. Like so you got to figure out, first of all, do you enjoy it? Because that will calculate the longevity of how long you're going to last, right? Because if one day you wake up, you're like, man, I'm done, like I don't enjoy this no more, guess what, you're going to stop, you know?
Hmm.
And then if you do pair that up with value, people are getting value from that. They want to always come back to your channel, they want to always come back to your Instagram, they always, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
The third thing I think I would ask is what you're creating scalable? Like, is it, I know that as a creative, I want every piece of content to be a masterpiece. And like every piece of content has to be perfect. Like that's just a perfectionism as a creative. But let me tell you, like Pablo Picasso made thousands of pieces of art, but only 200 of them were considered masterpieces. And guess who called them masterpieces? His audience. Like
Hmm.
the people decide whether or not your piece is a masterpiece or not, but just keep on creating content, you know? And like that's one thing is how do you create your content to be scalable? Is it valuable? And does it resonate with who you are and your core values, and does it make you happy, basically? I think, yeah, the audience does have a lot of power, you know,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, you know, waking up and asking yourself, does this bring joy to my life? Does this does this make me feel fulfilled? I think that one takes higher precedence over than an audience, like some troll in your comment section saying, oh, this is garbage, do another one of your other TikTok videos. Like your audience
Yeah.
is going to change no matter what, you know? Like
Hmm.
I think when creating, you know, you're whenever, like marketing 101, basically like business 101 is basically saying, hey, I'm a content creator, this is what I love, this is what I do. If it's what you love and what you do as well, come hang out with me. That should be like the basic fundamental mentality when you're creating YouTube
Hmm.
videos or content for your social media channels. Is, do I love this, do I enjoy this? Because my content, what Sean says, your vibe's going to attract your tribe, right? So my
Yes.
content is going to attract just the right audience. And as time goes on, your audience is going to narrow down. Some people are going to stick with you to the very end and be your biggest fan, and some people are like, yo, that was a dope video, your other videos are kind of whack, but I liked it, and that's it, you know? But for those that stick with you, like that tribe, you want to nurture that tribe, you want to, you know, help that tribe, you want to speak directly to that person that's going to be your diehard fan. And if that's it, like that's all, like you're really bringing value to that person, and it's all worth it, you know?
No, talking about knowing your tribe, I would say that you are surrounded around a lot of people who know their tribe, like Sean Kennel,
Yeah,
Heather Torres,
yeah,
Gary Vanderchuck, things
yeah.
like that. You know, what would you say is the common denominator in like their personalities, like all three of them? Because I know they're vastly different people, but there has to
Yeah.
be something that, you know, is like, for them to be as successful as they have been in this space, there has to be that like common, okay, this is that thing that all three of them have, that,
Yeah,
you know,
I
they
I
fit
think
their audience.
that's a really good question, and like I hope I could bring a really
Good
like
answer
good
to
answer, eye-opening answer. But something that I see within a lot of my friends that are in that space and that do have a big, you know, they have a big tribe, they have a big following, a lot of them, what I notice,
Mhm.
that the character that they carry is the one of like, I'm not afraid of failing, I'm not afraid to be exposed, like I'm not afraid to be transparent and like not be perfect. Like perfection is like the kryptonite you know, of a lot of content creators, like they're especially like creators like myself, who's in the ad like marketing space, and like I'm designing stuff for like big companies, and I'm like, okay, it has to be perfect because it's a corporate situation. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, ooh, like, you know, but what I've learned from the Seans and from the Garys and from like the Lewis Houses and stuff is like, you got to kill perfection. You got to show that you're a human being. People want to connect with human beings. They don't want to connect. They don't really connect well with corporate brands or
You don't.
like, you know what I mean? Like they want real authentic, like, oh, I could actually hang, like you watch a Sean video, a Heather video, a Gary video, and you're instantly like, oh, I could like hang with this person, like in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like they speak my language. They speak my vibe. You know, they have that vibe that I just want to hang out with them. So those are the types of like energy and all that stuff that they put out through their videos. And I think that's one successful thing. And it's what I call like the magnet, like creator, right? You're just like so drawn to that person because of their personality. They're not always perfect. They're always gonna, like, you know, if they stumble, they stumble like with their words or with, you know, sometimes they'll even correct themselves like in future episodes or in their content, be like, you know what, I was wrong and this is why. Like, so when transparency is there, and when they speak from the heart and they're just like talking like I'm talking to you right now,
Mm-hmm.
their channels and their influence grows because people want to connect with human beings. We were never meant to just connect with like robotic, you know, types of
Yeah.
people, even though there's some robotic people that I'm like, dang, they are smart. Like they're just like on point. You know, you got like, you know, hot ones, Evan, Sean,
Yeah.
what's the name? Evans, the dude.
Yeah, the guy, the host of Hot Ones. Yeah.
Yeah, like dude is robotic, man. Like he's like, he brings it all the time, but like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he'll have a great time with his guests, but that's what makes it so unique is like, okay, we want to see the human side to people and we want to connect with that. But when you bring the value and wisdom that you have, you know, to share, that's when people are like, oh, I get something from this, and it's done really well because I can connect with that person.
You know, as a beginner creative or as a
Mhm.
filmmaker or something like that, what would you say, like just gear wise, software wise, it can
Yeah.
be a mixture of these. What would you say are your top like 5 pieces of equipment or 5 like software apps that all creatives, especially filmmakers, should have, you know, on their phone?
That's a good question,
Hmm.
especially because like for me to answer that, it's just so funny because my philosophy is create with what you have, you know,
Yes.
and my philosophy, especially like after going to film school and photography school for like 6 years, working in the industry, working with like red cameras, Aries, like the whole production, like
Hmm.
big budgets, small
Black Magic.
budgets, black
Black
magics
Magic.
too.
Yeah.
Like,
Throw
yeah,
that
we
in
got,
there.
yeah, like they're like working with all that. Like, it's just funny to come from me, like, as a philosophy is like create with what you have. And if it's like an iPhone, like you got, there's a lot of like productive, high powered apps, high powered, like even that's built in with the phone, right?
Hmm.
So if you're just starting and you're like, dude, like I want to start with my iPhone, that's great. Like change, go to your camera settings, change it to like cinematic settings. If you want to do lots of cinematography, like level up your content, right? You want to match the frame rates. If you want to shoot in 4K, like there's a lot of tips out there when it comes to that stuff. But like
Hmm.
apps that I use is like simple apps. If I'm just shooting on my phone, like I'll use the Lightroom mobile for photos, because I've designed like presets on like the computer and transfer them over to like my mobile, which I could plug later on if you want presets.
Hmm.
Um, I use Lightroom for photos. I use InShot to edit, like, you know, videos. If you heard of InShot, I think they're on both platforms. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
InShot's, dude, I got that on my phone right now.
Because you
That's how
could,
I edit all my
right,
videos.
because you could change the format, it edits it like
Hmm.
right away if you're like one-on-one and all that stuff.
You
I
can
think
even make like the little title videos that you see on a lot of
you can do
these.
so much.
It's
And
so
like
much.
for me, like when it comes to that side, like the content is more important than the quality when you're working with your phone. If you have a dope concept, I know lots of Instagram, TikTok, and like back in the day, like Vine
Hmm.
influencers this is all they had. They didn't have fancy cameras or a crew or, you know,
No.
this is all they did. They did 6-second videos and it was entertaining, and they didn't have anything, you know, other than themselves and their creativity. I would probably suggest getting like one of these like tripods, you know, like Gorilla Grip. You put your phone in it. You use it to obviously as a tripod, but you could also use it as a stabilizer, you know, if you're doing mobile. But outside of mobile, which is my fun thing to do, like when you have like DSLR cameras or cameras, is you don't need a most expensive camera. You could get like a $300 camera off of Amazon, like a I had that T2i over there for a decade or so. That was like one of my first cameras. Actually, one of my first cameras was like in the digital SLR world was like a Nikon. You know, I traded that in for a Canon, obviously, because Canons are better. But when it comes to like Canons or, you know, Panasonics, Lumixes, all that stuff, Sony, they all kind of all do the similar things. It's about what you do, like how post production is the biggest thing. How do you color grade? How do you put them together? How do you, you know, so it's not really the content that you're capturing, because you could capture content on this phone, but you could make it look cinematic with the color grading in post, you know. So those are the types of things. And great audio is the best too. So if you have like great audio, great video, and, you know, lighting, all that stuff together creates pro looking content, and it keeps your, you know, audience engaged, you know.
Hey, John, we got to have you back on here again, man, and talk about some more stuff and
yeah, definitely.
and
This
get
has
it
been
cracking.
fun.
Yes, and I loved it. I learned a lot. I'm hoping all of you guys have found value from this interview, and let us know in the comment section below what is the most useful thing that you can take away from this interview, or something that new that you have learned.
Yo, keep on following my dude. Like,
Thank
he's
you.
coming out with tons of awesome stuff. I know you're gonna get so much value out of it. So yeah, do that.
Thank you. And we're going to have all of John's social media links and all the stuff that has been mentioned in this interview in the comments. No, in the description box, my bad. In the description box. So definitely follow him and definitely follow what he's doing, because he has some great stuff as well. All right. I'm Antoine signing off, and I'll catch you guys in the next Mad Talk interview. Yeah.